now you have the part where Loki does respect the promoter. Because I look at him, I go, what the fuck's wrong with you? You know what he did? He gets on his hands and knees and cleans it all up. Every drop of it. Now that's the part that, the disrespect part is yelling and hitting wrestlers and punching walls. But the respect part is him getting on his knees and cleaning it up without even an argument. And Loki, too. Loki's worked for me for free. If it was a special event or something, he did it. He did it for free.
Yeah.
He wrestled Raven for free on one of my shows, and he wrestled for him for almost 30 minutes. But there was an incident where I wanted to give Loki a main match, and I put him against Al Snow. And I didn't expect Al Snow to have heard of him. And Al Snow said to me, he goes, who am I working tonight? And I said, Loki. And Al had this smile on his face, and I said, what, have you heard of him? And he said, yeah. And he goes, I've heard of him. He goes, let's see if he'll pull the shit he pulls on everybody else to me. That's all Al said. And they start wrestling, and I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden, you can watch it on the video, Al starts, like, manhandling him, like a child. And if you want to know what I mean by that, it's when they lock up, for instance. Al is actually pushing him backwards without Loki wanting to go backwards. And there was a point where Al actually put Loki on the top rope, and he's holding him there, and Loki's kicking like a lunatic, Anthony. Kicking like a lunatic, kicking like somebody in jail getting raped. But he can't hit Al.
Kicking like Samoa Joe when you take his food away before he's finished.
Absolutely, you nailed it. And he's trying to hit Al, and he can't. And he has this look on his face like, I'm being made a fool out of. And Loki just stormed out after the match, and he never worked for me again. And after that point, he probably worked for me 40 times.
Yeah. See, that's why when a lot of people say, oh, I can't believe Loki's still in developmental. You know, not for nothing, but
yeah, it's his attitude.
Yeah, it's his attitude. I mean, you know, he's a very talented wrestler, but you know, he's got his moments. That incident he had with Tammy that time was, believe it or not, that was the first time I ever met you. Actually,
let me tell this Tammy story.
Yeah,
with
that's
Loki.
great. That's great.
That's a great story. We did a show at
it was Long Island.
The Deer Park Community Center. That's where that Greg Stengel and his hairy-chinned wife used to work. And we used to run shows there again every month. And we did a show there, and in the locker room, I believe Loki and Homicide and the Hit Squad were all sitting around talking. Loki got out of his chair. Again, we're talking 10 years ago, so it's hard to remember the story.
It was 2002.
8 years ago. I was standing right there. Loki gets out of his chair, and Tammy sits in his chair. But when she sits in his chair, she says something smart-ass. But it was nothing terrible, and I think she gave him a tap, right? She didn't hit him. She did something like, oh, I took your seat, because there weren't a lot of chairs.
Yeah.
He starts screaming at her in the locker room. Loki, screaming at Tammy, who at that point is maybe a year and a half removed from being Sunny in the WWE. He's yelling at her, he's screaming at her, he's cursing at her. Okay? Then Candido walks over to her, Chris Candido. Now, Candido, everybody knows Chris Candido as his goofy guy. Okay? Chris is not at any point getting mad at Loki. He's just like, hey, man, calm down a little bit. It's my wife. We later found out after Chris passed away, of course, they were not married. But, you know, Chris is like, hey, you know, it's my wife. Calm down. Loki's like, she fucking hit me. I'm going to hit her. I'm going to hit you. I don't, you know, and now he's fighting Candido, too. So then, Balls walks over. And now it's Balls and Candido.
Balls Mahoney.
Looking at Loki. Balls is like, you're not hitting anybody. Right? Then Homicide and the Hit Squad stand behind Loki. Okay? Now, I've said it for years. I love Homicide. But Homicide's 170 pounds. Steve Mack, Monster Mack, Mack's a great guy. Danny Moff's a great guy. And when they're standing there, they both look like big, intimidating guys. The fact is, Candido and Balls alone would have killed them. Mm-hmm. All four of them. Okay? But then, Jerry the Wall walks over.
Yeah, Jerry Tootie.
Jerry Tootie. For those of you who don't know Jerry was the Wall in WCW. Now, one thing with Jerry was this, and I want people to really understand this. Jerry the Wall from WCW, you guys never saw him with a shirt or in wrestling trunks. He worked on my shows like that. But he was about 6'10". Now, here's the thing. He's bigger than Sid. Am I right, Anthony?
Yeah, I saw.
Have you ever seen him?
Yeah, when he was doing the XPW thing, I saw him up close and personal. He was massive.
Yeah, but think body-wise, he's 340 pounds and ripped to shreds. Mm-hmm. He was built like Rick Rude, but 340 pounds.
Yeah, he was huge. He was huge.
He stands there to beat up Loki. Then Bigelow walks over. So now you have Bigelow, the Wall, Balls, and Candido all ready to beat the shit out of the Hit Squad, the Homicide, and Loki. And the Homicide and the Hit Squad are both trying to calm Loki down, because if they would have fought the other ones, they would have done so just out of friendship. Not because they thought Loki was right. They were doing so to be loyal. Mm-hmm. The fact is, I think they knew that Bigelow could have killed all of them by himself.
Yeah.
And finally, the Hit Squad and everybody calmed Loki down. But it's just another way of Loki not having any respect for anybody.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know?
I had met you, and I was there not even a half an hour. Next thing I know, there was this almost a gigantic brawl in the back. It was pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, we've had tons of shit like that. Speaking of shit, there was the time that Big Dick Dudley, Roadkill came in the locker room once after one of the shows and starts having a tantrum in the locker room. He's standing there screaming and fighting with Missy Hyatt. And, it was a terrible argument. Apparently, somebody took a piss in Roadkill's gym bag in the locker room and peed all over his food and everything. And the girl, Missy Hyatt, saying it's her. The reason was, apparently, Big Dick Dudley's ex-wife, Elektra from ECW, something once got physical between her and Roadkill. And since it was Big Dick Dudley's ex-wife, Alex peed in the bag, Big Dick Dudley. Yeah. And the girls were saying it was them. But, it was all because Roadkill was too scared to dare mess with Alex.
Yeah.
Because Alex would have killed him. I think Alex wanted to kill him that day. To this day, Roadkill won't talk to me. I'm up to him. I'm a piece of shit. What should I have done? Should I have... He wanted me to tell him who did it at the show. Mm-hmm. He doesn't understand I saved his life.
Yeah.
Another idiot. Another piece of shit.
I don't know.